Hello there and welcome to another Wine Steward video. We appreciate you watching our video newsletters, I guess you could call these things. You could read our newsletter that we send out once a week via Constant Contact, and we put a link on there that takes you here, or you can just subscribe to our YouTube thing and watch these once a week that way. You can find us there. The Wine Steward, Pleasanton, California should give you our most recent video if you do a search on YouTube. Here we are talking to you about wine, what's going on at the Wine Steward, what we're going to be pouring at our wine bar this week, and so on. Yes, we are here using the wine bar as our set, and yet the thing I want to tell you about first is not happening here on the wine bar mezzanine, nor down there on our retail floor, nor anywhere in this big old, what used to be a movie theater and is now a wine shop. In fact, we're going to go down the street. What I want to tell you about first is a collaboration. It is already halfway sold out. We are admitting the first 90 people, maybe 100, to an event that we're going to do down the street with our friends at SIDETRACKED. SIDETRACKED Bar and Grill is closed every Tuesday evening so they can accommodate special events. And we've decided to work with Todd down there to have a walk-around tasting, a la what we used to do here in the store, and maybe someday we'll again. But this time, we're going to take the show on the road, have 9 different tasting stations, each of which will represent a different, let's say, wine location. And we will host those tasting stations with Wine Steward staff and also some of our absolute favorite vendors. And for $48 per person, you'll be able to walk around and enjoy all these wines. But what's better is that there will be a massive amount of beautiful food done by SIDETRACKED. There will be a nice layout of some of their most asked for bites. And so you'll be able to sip and eat at the same time, nibble and sip, let's say, as you're on your feet attempting to find the next tasting station. We're gonna probably have fantastic weather by June 6th. That's when this goes down. Tuesday, June 6th is what we're talking about. It's about a week and a half away. And we will be inside and outside, weather permitting, because Todd at SIDETRACKED has 2 wonderful outdoor venues, not just 1, but 2. And so we'll put a tasting station or 2 out there as well. So some of this will be al fresco and some will be inside. And we're gonna bring our great stemware down the street and great wine and great wine vendor friends as well. So we look forward to more of you signing up. Like I said, we've barely publicized this yet and have already sold it out halfway. So be among the other 45 to sign up, and we would love to see you there June 6th at SIDETRACKED, a Wine Steward and SIDETRACKED Bar and Grill collab, if you will. We're calling it The Wine Steward Gets SIDETRACKED. Is that clever or what? Here we go. This is your indication of something we're going to be pouring there. I will hopefully be hosting one table, have agreed with a vendor who cannot come that night to pour some of her great wines that she's been selling us for years. And one of the brands that we've admired and you've admired for many years from the Rhone Valley, particularly Châteauneuf-du-Pape, is Domaine de la Charbonnière. And I have selected 3 wines, a Vaqueras, a Châteauneuf-du-Pape Blanc that rarely gets out of the winery and over the pond to us, and their newest release of 2020 Châteauneuf-du-Pape Rouge, the tradition bottling of their red Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So that's what I will probably be pouring for you, and then we welcome you to go and taste other things too. Like I said, it's going to be kind of an around the world, lots of destinations, wine destinations at this event. So that's why I have this prop up here to begin. And now, why don't we get really started by doing what I like to do every time and finish yesterday's bubbly so that we can pour you the fresh stuff today. Oh my gosh, that's all they left me. Look at that. That is dismal. Yay. All right. So here is the sparkling wine of the week. And let's make sure you're seeing that correctly. This is not Prosecco, and yet it does come from Italy. This is from the other side of Italy. It is called Franciacorta. Franciacorta is the name of a sparkling wine region in Italy where the bubbly is made like champagne. In other words, not in a big tank, but the second fermentation occurs in individual bottles. That's why Franciacorta costs a little bit more and tastes quite a bit better and feels quite a bit better too. The bubbles are different because of that, let's say, méthode champenoise, and hopefully the French police aren't out there waiting to arrest me for using their term. But what we have is the better way of bubble making happening here in Franciacorta. So come learn about that and taste Bella Vista Franciacorta. And now let's tell you about the white wine flight. We have a wonderful selection of varying whites from all over the place. Let's go first to Spain for a wine that we've shown before, but it's very effective. If that darn sun would come out and stay out and get a little warmer out there, this would be super appropriate. This is 100% Verdejo. Verdejo is the name of a white grape that can actually maintain its acidity in warm weather. And that's why they can actually grow at about 45 to an hour's drive north of hot Madrid. And on a hot summer day in Madrid, they pour the local wine, Verdejo, and it's maybe €3 a glass, and it's always refreshing on a super hot day in Madrid. Verdejo as grown in Rueda, just north of Madrid. And this is still the bubbly. Get that over with. It's tasty though. The Franciacorta, even though that's lost most of its bubbles. Have you ever noticed that you can really understand the quality of a sparkling wine by perhaps having it the next day if you left the bottle uncorked by accident and maybe even tried it at room temperature? Maybe the night was that much fun that you forgot about that bottle that still had that much left in it. Try bubbly when the bubbles have escaped and the wine has warmed up, and then you will understand whether it's good stuff or bad stuff. It can be a really, really delicious still wine experience later on. Back to the white flight. Verdejo, wine number 1. Wine number 2 on the white flight is one of the doggone best Gruner Veltliners I have found in the last year at this price point. In other words, we're only 20, maybe 20 bucks with your wine club discount. We're getting down to about, I think $19.89 is the price for wine club members, because you get 10% off everything, all the wines you're buying here, that is. And this Weichselbaum beats the other ones at this price point. In other words, when I have Gruner Veltliner, that's supposedly how you're supposed to say it, at the $20 or $21 price point, I expect refreshing zing. And there is often from the $15 to $20 region, no more than that being said. This has the real Gruner Veltliner character where you get the white pepper, a little bit of, some people would say, lentil. There's some savories along with the lime going on, and it's really exciting white wine with real character for the price. Weichselbaum. Wine number 3 on the white flight is going to take us to the Western Loire Valley. So the Loire River Valley, which is famous for its Sancerre and Vouvray and so on, is about 300 miles long, east to west. Where it spills out into the Atlantic Ocean on that western side is where you have the final wine region of Muscadet. Muscadet is, yeah, it looks like Muscat, right? It ain't Muscat. It's not going to be sweet, and it's not the Muscat grape. Muscadet is simply the name of the wine region, and the wine grape employed here is Melon, like melon, Melon de Bourgogne, as if it's melon of Burgundy. Well, we're nowhere near Burgundy, and it's not made of melons, but that's the name of the grape. And for some historical reason, what we expect from Melon de Bourgogne is not a ton of aromatic character. This is more about a feel that you experience that is wonderfully refreshing and vibrant. And if I was to take this down the street to Savio on their Friday dollar oyster day, they might be $1.50 now, I would be having the perfect wine for raw oysters. This is Muscadet raw oyster wine, great with any kind of seafood. It's kind of like the Albarino of France, you could say. Muscadet. You could say Muscadet if you want, but don't make it sound too much like Muscat or you're going to confuse people. That's what I've learned. Nice dry wine. Wine number 4 on the white flight is a 100%. You've seen me put this out here before because this is an ultimate Wine Steward wine, to the point that when our vendor said, we are all sold out, I said, dang it, I really wish you had saved us some. He called back 1 week later and said, I've just found 3 more cases. And I said, they're all ours, aren't they? And he says, yes, you may take the last 3 cases of this vintage of Terre de 100%. 100% is the name of the region in the way up the river Loire region. So we're still in the Loire, kind of, but we're also in Burgundy, kind of, with respect to this being made of Chardonnay at the amount of, I believe, 65%, and another grape called Tressalier. So this behaves more like white Burgundy than, let's say, Sauvignon Blanc from Sancerre. It is a little more fleshy and aromatic and more to it. This is exciting white wine, of which we have 3 more cases before the vintage is gone. So come and celebrate the the imminent demise of a really good and interesting white wine. 100%. Now we have The final white wine. This is a beautiful and interesting white wine from the Azores. This is grown on one of the islands of the Azores, which are about, about 870 miles off the coast of Lisbon, Portugal. A lot of people are going to Portugal these days, and some people are making it all the way to the Azores. And so that's why this wine is suddenly interesting enough to importers to go to the trouble to bring it over. This is a very inconveniently achieved wine, and with the logistics involved. Man, you think it's inconveniently achieved as far as logistics for the importer? You ought to see where they grow this. On the island of Pico. Pico, by the way, has the tallest mountain in Portugal, and it's not on the mainland. It is this mountain volcano, basically, that it last exploded in the 1700s on the island of Pico and created the terroir, or soil, in which these vines grow. Very interestingly growing. They grow in within rock walls. These walls are built with volcanic rock, the local rock, in order to protect the vines from the fierce winds coming off the sea. So there's a lot of brine and a lot of wind here, and these rock walls. Look up, do a search. Vineyards on Pico, Portugal, Azores, and you will scan through a bunch of striking images of some of the most interestingly planted, cultivated grapevines in the world. It's a pain in the ass to achieve this, but it's worth it because it's one of those exciting volcanic wines made mostly of a grape called Arinto on the island of Pico. I've read that if that volcano, which is actually 7,700 feet tall off of the sea level, if the sea wasn't there, it might be one of the tallest mountains in the entire world. So it's pretty impressive. Pico is the island, the mountain, and the dirt, basically, that this beautiful white wine made mostly of Arinto is grown in on the Azores. That's the white flight. Let's tell you about two wines that we pour only by the glass this weekend. We'd like to do the by the glass only thing so you fully know a wine instead of the soundbite taste all the time. This is going to be Odonata Chardonnay. It resembles slightly Fuentes Riva Ranch Chardonnay. I think it's as good or perhaps better. It's from the exact same area of Arroyo Seco in Monterey County. It's delicious, easygoing, thoughtful, and more on the full-bodied side, but not silly, not too over the top, if you will. That's Odonata Chardonnay. And now, for a wine that I'm very pleased with having just arrived, this is Bloodroot Grenache. We are always seeking out great Grenache, and great Grenache is never inexpensive because to achieve really good Grenache grapes, you have to drop a lot of those grapes on the ground, and the remaining grapes on the vine derive more energy and character thereby. And you have here one of those great Grenaches, real character, kind of a kirschy, almost like hot pie cooling down on a windowsill, like a cherry pie is the effect here. The wine is not huge. Grenache should not be big unless it's, fortified with Syrah or Mourvedre. This one's not. This is the pure stuff. It's just charming. It is liquid charm happening. So know it by the entire glass. Bloodroot Grenache from Russian River Valley. It's the second Russian River Valley Grenache I've ever had in my entire career. There's not a lot of it there, so it's kind of cool for that too, novelty. Let's tell you quickly about the red wine flight on the wine bar. And what are we going to do? We are going to extend the celebration of Spain that began last Tuesday night with 26 of you. You were sitting up here and enjoying the instruction of importer Robert Morrison of Authentic Wines and trying 12 different wines from Spain. And I thought, let's take another crack at some of those red wines. Some of you couldn't come because we filled the event and had no more seats available. So here's a mini version of that event, if you will. These are all, actually most, not all, but mostly imported, shown the other night by Robert Morrison, and I threw in one other wine as well that I personally like and achieved in another way. So first we're going to take you to an area called Mentrida. Specifically, the wine region is called Sierra del Gredo, and we don't talk about it very often. There aren't many examples of it in our market. I've probably tried 4 of them and carried 3 or 4 of them in the whole time that we've been here as the wine steward. This is west of Madrid, an area that, like I said, I mean, we talk about Rioja all the time and Ribera del Duero, and those places are north of Madrid. But this is very interesting Garnacha country here, where the soil is hardly soil, though we're talking more about decomposed granite and sand happening here. And it makes a Garnacha that is more fine and elegant and lifted than a garnacha, say, from Calatayud or other parts of Spain. So it is very terroir affected in a beautiful way. It is elegant garnacha from Sierra de Gredo, and the producer is Jimenez Landi. At any rate, you're going to get to try this as wine number 1 on the red wine flight. Now we will take you to another part of Spain. Where? Oh yes, let's go to Terra Alta. This is a fun flight for rolling your R's, isn't it? We have a Terra Alta red here that consists of garnacha. Garnacha is Grenache, as you may know. And then the other players are, I believe, Syrah, and there's about 10% Carignan, or Carignana, as they would call it, in this wine as well. This is a very effective, little more body going on here than the 100% Garnacha we just told you about. This is the wine that you can take to the barbecue and everyone will like it. I mean, let's just imagine our visiting a neighbor's patio here in Pleasanton or Livermore and saying, get the grill going, I've got a wine to go with it, and this wine will work for anything grilled and anybody you're pouring it for, as long as they do red wine. Editaria is the very thoughtful producer, and it is a wine that has been in our wine club before. It will probably see wine club activity again pretty soon here. This is delicious. Really nice wine from Terra Alta. And where is that? That is south of Barcelona. So we're on the east coast, or near it, near the east coast of Spain. If you were sitting here, you would only be 20 miles perhaps from the coast, but you wouldn't think so because it's very mountainous. The terrain here is beautiful. It's a nice place to visit. We can kind of set you up with that producer. If you're heading to Barcelona, you rent a car and drive about an hour and 45 minutes. Maybe you want to stop in Priorat and then go a little farther down to Terra Alta. Priorat, I just said the word. And here's the wine. So the next wine is in fact from Terra Alta's neighbor to the north called Priorat or Priorato. And it is beautiful country. The topography is multi-textured. This is an area where a tractor is not very useful typically because the terrain is so rugged and steep. And these Garnacha and Carignana vines, here we go, Garnacha, Grenache, and Carignana are the main features of this particular wine, are growing in Licorea. That's the name of the local blue-gray slate that fortunately fractures. Otherwise, these vines would never be able to exist. Since it fractures, the vines are able to work their way down, sometimes 50 feet of roots, to find what little water there is way down there in order to survive, and perhaps put out only one cluster per vine sometimes. Yes, that is devotion, isn't it? If you're going to farm that kind of an area, you'd better believe in the wine quality that is the result. And Priorat is distinctively great wine. It's one of the only denominaciones de calificada, Origen Calificada in Spain. That means DOC, or DOC stands for that. And the only other DOC in Spain at this moment is Rioja. I bet Ribera del Duero is going to get that accreditation pretty soon. And in fact, we're going to taste one of those at the end of the flight. But what's going to happen in the meantime is the other DOC of Spain, Rioja, being featured via Viña Santornia. This is their Reserva. Their Rioja Reserva is really nominally priced for such a beautiful wine that will age. I recently got to visit this producer, and I've told this story before, but he pulled this very wine from a former vintage out of his cave for us. What was that wine? It was the 2000 vintage. It was remarkable. It was fantastic. And it was alive at that, 22 or 23 years of age. So try this wine, count on getting some and enjoying it now and also having it later, all right? This can age beautifully. And we can't always say that for affordable wine. My phone is playing tricks with me. If you can't see me perfectly, I'm gonna keep talking. I think my battery's low, but maybe you do see me perfectly. I don't see me perfectly. I'm just gonna keep staring at the screen and hoping that this is working. We have only one more wine to tell you about, so maybe you're just listening and not watching anymore. But this is Arzuaga. Arzuaga is a favorite Ribera del Duero producer of ours. The last wine was made of Tempranillo, so was this. But this is another region, Ribera del Duero, where the Tempranillo is darker. It acts a little bit more like Cabernet, and I can show this to Cabernet fans and make them happy, I think. But it is definitely Tempranillo as well, with a little more tobacco and plum going on. Arzuaga is the final wine in the red wine flight. We hope you come upstairs and enjoy it with us. Don't forget to go to thewinesteward.com and sign up for the SIDETRACKED Bar and Grill and the Wine Steward collaboration. That happens down the street from us on June 6th. There are about 40 positions remaining. Thank you very much for supporting your local family-owned downtown wine steward. We hope to see you soon.